Hi, this is a fall DIY table runner that I made, and it is made from repurposed fabric. Now, this fabric was actually a valance curtain for over a window. So these are the tools that we'll need: some heavy duty scissors, seam ripper, some tweezers, and what we've got to do is take all the stitching out, which can take a really long time, but it's well worth it once we get all the stitching out. Now, I was inspired by the underside of this fabric, the brown with the greens and the cream and the lines going through it. Even though it was the back side of the fabric, I really liked it. So here I've got all the seams ripped out, and then I'm ironing the fabric flat so that I can start doing the cutting on it. So here's my inspirational piece, and then I'm just trying to figure out how and what I'm going to do. So first I'm cleaning up the edges of the fabric and deciding how I'm going to cut it, and I finally decided that I wanted to cut it in squares, and the squares are 5x5s, and so I'm going to cut the green fabric into 5x5 squares, and this is going to run along the side of the runner. And then I decided on the inspiration fabric just to cut a straight piece to go down the center of the fabric. So I'm lining up my ruler and getting that straight cut on that. And then I'm going to take the red fabric and do the same thing that I did with the green fabric, and I'm going to make it into 5x5 squares. And here's what I'm doing with that right now. So once I get all of the squares cut, the next job is going to be to line up all my squares to make sure everything fits properly to the large strip in the middle of the runner. And so I'm piecing these pieces together to find my layout and basically create my design of how I want the runner to look. And once I get that down, then I'm going to the machine and I will start sewing the squares together. And that's what we're doing here. So let's get these, start sewing these. I also make sure that on the squares that I backstitch. When I start, I did a back stitch, and when I get to the end, I also do a back stitch because I don't want these seams to come out, to come undone. And then I'm going to line it up, make sure everything looks good, and then sew the other squares. I got those together. Well, let me get it together. So it gives me an idea. And then I'm going to sew these two together to make a long strip, the same size as the strip in the middle. And so I'm pinning the ends together so nothing shifts on me when I take it to the machine to sew. And so let's do that. There we go. So that's the first side done, and then I've got the middle strip, and now I'm gonna work on the other side and sew these squares together. I make sure that there's no fabric there or string, and then I'm gonna line it up and pin it to hold it together, keep it from shifting, and take it to the machine and sew this side together. There we go. There we go. So I'll take care of this side and get it sewn together. And then once I sew it and I lay it out and make sure everything lines up with it, then I'm going to iron it, and I'm going to iron it opening the seam so it'll lay flatter for me. And now I'm going to sew those strips to the center strip. So again, I go to the machine and I make sure that I backstitch on that fabric. And when I get to the seams, I press them open because I really want this to lay flat since it's laying on the table. There we go. So I'm pressing that seam open and then ironing it flat so it'll lay flat. And now the next thing I'm gonna do is do a border around the runner. So I'm taking some of the green fabric and cutting it in 2-inch strips, and then I'm gonna sew the ends together, pin them so they're not sliding them on the machine. And when I take it to this machine, I'm still doing a back stitch on it to keep it together. And wanted to give you a close-up of the machine, of the stitch. It's really simple. And then on the other side, I'm pinning this to the table runner and sewed it, and now I'm gonna press it down. And I got that side done, and now I'll work on the other side. And on this one, you know, as we go along, we learn simpler ways to do it. So I just folded it in half and went ahead and pressed it down to the runner, and then took it to the machine to sew that border on the side of the runner. And then I'm gonna iron it flat, and it's done. So this is what my DIY fall table runner looks like. And it was done from repurposed fabric that I had no use for. So there we go, a fall table runner. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed.